President Donald Trump sat behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office, absently flipping through his daily briefings, trade updates, intelligence summaries, diplomatic cables, the usual noise of power. Then a letter caught his eye. It wasn't typed, no official seal, just neat, deliberate handwriting on plain paper. The return address listed a small town in Virginia. The sender, Captain Eleanor Ellie Carter, USA Fret. Age 92. Trump paused and read, Mr. President, I don't want recognition or awards, but before my time runs out, I have something important to share, something that may change the way you see leadership, legacy, and America's future. If you have a moment, I would like to meet you in person. It was short, direct, unusual. An aide glanced over his shoulder and shrugged. Probably another request for a medal. Sir, your schedule is already packed. International leaders, policy briefings. Trump tapped the letter against the desk, not really listening. He had met countless veterans, but something about these words felt different. There was no flattery, no pleading, just quiet confidence. I know strength when I see it, he said finally. Arrange it. The staff hesitated. No press? No cameras. He nodded. Some things matter more than headlines. A few days later, the motorcade rolled into a quiet Virginia neighborhood. No banners, no reporters, just a modest house framed by maple trees turning gold. On the porch sat an elderly woman in a rocking chair. As Trump stepped out, she stood, slowly, deliberately. Time had left its marks, but her posture was straight, her presence unmistakably commanding. Mr. President, she said, extending her hand. Her grip was firm. You're taller than I expected. Trump laughed. And you're stronger than I expected. She smirked. I had to be. Inside, the house was warm and lived in. Books lined the shelves. Framed photographs captured decades of service, family, and history. This wasn't nostalgia, it was testimony. Over tea, Ellie spoke plainly. I enlisted when women weren't exactly welcome, she said. They told us we were too delicate, too soft to lead. Trump listened closely. I proved them wrong, she continued. Not once. Again and again. Leadership isn't about titles. It's about earning trust when no one wants to give it to you. He nodded. He understood that instinctively. His entire life had been about proving people wrong. But then her tone shifted. People love to honor veterans, she said softly. But they forget our battles don't end when the uniform comes off. She spoke of fighting for equal treatment, of watching younger women face the same closed doors she had forced open decades earlier. I opened doors, she said, but too many are still locked. Trump found himself unusually quiet. He had negotiated deals, crushed obstacles, built empires, but he had never needed permission just to be heard. Ellie wasn't asking for sympathy. She was asking for responsibility. Mr. President, she said, setting her cup down, you're a strong leader. But strength isn't just about standing tall. It's about lifting others. He leaned back, arms crossed. You think I'm not lifting others? She smiled, not unkindly. I think you could do more than you realize. Leaders don't just command. They inspire. They create paths. That word lingered. Paths. Trump had always thought in terms of winning, building, achieving. Ellie was talking about something else entirely. Legacy measured not in towers or policies, but in people. Her eyes drifted to a framed photograph of a younger version of herself in uniform. I spent so much time proving myself, she said quietly, that I missed things that mattered. My sister's wedding, my father's last birthday. I was always chasing something bigger. Trump frowned. He had heard that confession before, from CEOs, politicians, moguls. Success takes time, he admitted. And time doesn't give back. Her gaze met his, sharp and unwavering. Then don't let it be too late. The words landed heavier than he expected. History will remember you, she said. But how? For what you built, or for who you lifted? Trump ran a hand through his hair. He thought of Barron, of Melania, of moments lost in meetings and negotiations. He had shaped policies in nations, but she wasn't asking about policy. She was asking about people. Legacy isn't just about success, Ellie said. It's about significance. Silence filled the room. Then Ellie reached into a drawer and pulled out an old envelope, yellowed with age. A letter from the White House. She said, "You wrote it years ago, honoring my service." Trump blinked. "You never opened it?" She shook her head. "I was too busy moving on to the next fight." Slowly, her hands trembling just slightly, she unfolded the letter and began to read. Trump watched, realizing something unexpected. That sometimes the most powerful moments of leadership happen far away from cameras, in quiet rooms, with people brave enough to tell the truth. And for the first time in a long while, he wondered not what he would be remembered for, but who. She finished reading and looked up at him. "Words fade, Mr. President," Ellie said gently. "Actions don't." Trump swallowed. He had written thousands of letters, commendations, condolences, congratulations. But how many had truly changed a life? Ellie wasn't accusing him. She was challenging him. "Will you be remembered for what you said?" she asked, "or for what you did?" For once, he didn't have an answer. Ellie didn't ask for recognition. She asked for something larger. "Don't just honor people like me," she said. "Create real change. Open doors for young women who dream of leading just like I did." Trump nodded slowly. He had built companies, shaped policies, won battles. But had he created something that would outlast him? His eyes drifted to a framed photograph on the wall. Ellie shaking hands with a former president. "That was the day I thought I'd made it," she said with a quiet smile. But real success isn't one moment. It's what you leave behind. Something settled in Trump's chest. "I'll push for real mentorship programs," he said. "Not just words. Action." Ellie smiled, as if she had seen something in him that even he hadn't fully recognized yet. When it was time to leave, Trump stood. Ellie rose slowly despite her age and brought her hand to her brow in a crisp salute. He returned it, feeling the full weight of her life, her service, her challenge. A week later, Trump was back in the Oval Office when his secretary entered, her expression unusually solemn. "Mr. President," she said quietly, "we just received word. Captain Eleanor Carter has passed away." Trump looked up, stunned. He had just spoken to her. She had been sharp, strong, full of life. He leaned back in his chair, a heaviness settling in his chest. "She left something for you," the secretary added, handing him a sealed envelope. Trump recognized the handwriting immediately. He held the letter for a long moment before opening it, aware now that Ellie had known her time was short and had chosen to spend one of her final days with him. He unfolded the page. "Mr. President, legacy isn't about what you achieve. It's about what you inspire. If you want to be remembered, lift others. That's how history will know your name." He read the words once, then again, then a third time. It felt as if she had seen straight through him, past the confidence, past the victories, to the doubts he never voiced. The world would remember his towers, his presidency, his policies. But would it remember the lives he changed? Ellie had left him with a challenge. Now it was his to answer in the days that followed. Trump found himself thinking about her constantly. He made no grand announcements, no speeches, but something had shifted. One afternoon, without informing the press, he visited a mentorship program for young female leaders. He sat among them, listened to their stories, asked about their struggles and dreams. In each of them, he saw Ellie, the same fire, the same determination. He left without headlines, but with clarity. In meetings, he began invoking Ellie's words, pushing for policies that supported emerging leaders, especially women. He listened more, reached out more, paid attention to voices that were usually overlooked. It wasn't about changing everything overnight. It was about changing direction. One evening, alone in the White House, Trump stared at Ellie's letter one last time. "I won't forget you," he whispered. Months later, a young woman stood on a stage accepting a leadership award. She spoke about her journey, about mentors who believed in her, doors that had finally opened, opportunities she never thought she'd have. In the audience, unseen, Donald Trump watched quietly. A small smile crossed his face as Ellie's words echoed in his mind. Legacy isn't about what you achieve. It's about what you inspire. And in that moment, he understood something clearly at last. His legacy was still being written.